Coach got Ball State this week. We'll get into that matchup here in a second. But after the game, you said, after the Kentucky game, you said, in the conditions we're playing football in right now, there's not a team in the country, maybe this is misquoted, but that's playing as connected as we are, as this group are. You mentioned how inspired you are by this team right now. Why do you believe so wholeheartedly in that? And was that something that before the season you could sort of feel building? Because I think that's a really interesting point that I think a lot of people believe in about this team.
Well, I don't know how to compare us relative, and I probably did say that. So, but like I think just if I'm going to be critical of that quote is I don't actually know what other locker rooms are like. What I do know is kind of what surfaces or what you read about or what you see and maybe what I hear at times from other coaches just in terms of how divided and how individualistic college football's become. And that's again, this isn't a statement about being righteous or somehow we just the foundation of this program from its inception with me here is that this is going to be about how we build a great team. Now we've had to course change and adjust our approach, and obviously part of that is involving and layering in transaction into it, but we've never deviated from this idea that we're here to be a part of something bigger than ourselves, and that to win football games it takes a team that'll play together, particularly for us here at Vanderbilt. So there's always been a closeness here. Again, this goes back to January, Billy, where we're in the team meeting room in January, and I'm talking about this team has liked each other for 3 years now. Do we love each other enough to demand a certain level of investment, engagement, day in, day out performance so that we can win? That there's a difference between hanging out with people and enjoying their company and actually being on mission with each other and holding each other accountable to the standards of the program. And what I noticed since January, honestly, is that there's just been a deeper commitment with this group. Part of that is some of the personalities removed from the program. Some of that is personalities brought into the program, including coaching personalities. And then a lot of it is those that were retained, the belief in kind of that mentality, that mindset, that level of commitment and accountability to mission. But again, we have not wavered in our football process in terms of the kids coming back and being invested every day. This goes back to the wintertime, and we were doing football school on Tuesday and Thursday nights where it was just, hey, come in and it's voluntary, let's just talk the game. Let's learn more about the game. These guys, the work they put in extra in the summer, and obviously, their commitment to training through fall camp and the season is really cool to see. And in all of that investment, we say what you do for yourself, you do for others, and what you do for others, you do for yourself. I mean, there's been this spirit, this connection, this love, this brotherhood that's formed around the football. I see that in the way we play every Saturday. I hear that in the way we talk to each other in this program too. And even after disappointing results, what used to be, I'd walk into a locker room of broken people. It felt like, I now walk into a locker room of galvanized people that are willing to speak to each other in those moments, speak confidence, encouragement, hold account, in those hard moments. And I think that's a really important feature of a team that's trying to do something big. So, long-winded response. I sense the connection in this team. I sense the love and the brotherhood. I think all the teams that I've fielded here, they've liked each other, but they haven't all liked the process and what winning asks of us or what winning demands of us. This group not only enjoys the company of one another, but they're really engaged on the mission together. They believe in what we can accomplish, and they're willing to sacrifice to win. And I think that's what's allowing us to find success here.
Coach, obviously Diego took some hits against Kentucky, and after the game, you mentioned that that's going to happen. And obviously in a tough stretch, you gotta keep pushing, gotta find ways to to keep him healthy, keep him upright, and that happened. He ended up fighting through and playing through the game. What is the approach now? Obviously, you mentioned Tuesday that our plan doesn't change at all. But for Diego, how's he doing this week? And what's that looking like heading into Ball State?
He's been fine. He actually was probably further ahead of where we thought he might be on on Tuesday yesterday. Just knowing that it was a physical game on Saturday. So we were pleased with the work he was able to put in yesterday, and obviously today. I thought that the offense really had a good mentality taking the field today, which was great to see, and he's a big part of that. So we have to play to our identity. Every game we play is the most important game we'll play. So we're gonna channel the offense through him, and that means there's gonna be times where he pulls the ball down on a read and he's got to fight for extra yards. There's gonna be times where he is going to scramble and create. When maybe the play breaks down or there's not an initial open receiver. Those are the things that make him a good football player. And again, we can certainly lean on design gives. I think that's a part of our offense that handing the ball to Seti and to AJ, and they've proven the ability to fight for hard yards. But we're never going to limit our playmakers' ability to make plays through the identity they have as competitors. That's not a formula that allows for you to have success. And so Diego needs to keep playing the way that he plays. We need to keep putting him in good positions. We need to do a great job protecting him when we do have him in the pocket or when we do have him on the perimeter. And we need to, again, put our offense in the best position to score points and help us win games.
Coach, the discipline is something that has stood out to me, especially in the last couple of weeks. Maybe it wasn't perfect early on in the season, whether it was Missouri or Georgia State, but you mentioned, and I hate to keep bringing up quotes, but the video was great that the team released, and you said, "Let them win the trash talking battle," right? And I love your quote a couple of weeks ago of, if you know me, if you ever seen me play pickup basketball, I like to trash talk, but you can't cross that line, of course, right? So, how much of an emphasis has that been? Because a lot of times there's a couple plays here or there in a game that you look back at, and that could be the reason you lost, whether it was in an unnecessary roughness or unsportsmanlike. So, has that stood out to you as it has to a lot of other people that those plays haven't been beating you, especially in the last couple of weeks?
Yes, this is. We've had a disciplined team here for 3 years in terms of penalties, and I don't have the stats, but I know that we've in our conference been at the top in that measure. We haven't always had an edgy team, and we have an edgy team now, which is a great thing. And part of my responsibility to them, as young competitors, is to learn them to teach them how to channel that edge into productive winning football, right? So, again, we talk a lot in this program about the power and the control we have as individuals, and anytime you're competing, whether it's in pickup basketball or football or video games, there's a certain specific mentality and focus needed to ensure that you're in the present and you're doing the things that you need to do to unlock success moment by moment. And that's the control you have, and that's your power. Your power is your focus. Now, I do believe that any competition, and if you watch me I can talk this is a very sterile conversation about what the competitive moment is, but there is a certain level of heightened emotional state that most of us need to be in to be dominant competitors. So it's the balance of that heightened emotional state where you don't spill out and and so that you can have the focus play in, play out, and truthfully, the ability to reset, snap in, snap out, to build on your performance. So we spent a ton of time talking about that. Obviously, that stuff in practice and training that we highlight. Again, that's why we don't have a lot of fights in our practice, because we don't train elements in our game or in our practice that will hurt our mission in the game. That fighting in practice is emotionally spilling out and offloading control. The minute you engage in a trash talking competition rather than a football playing competition, the minute you make it about that and not about the ball, you basically handed your mindset over to the opponent and allowed them to do with it what they will. And I think that's a very dangerous thing to do. So what is the level of kind of back and forth engagement needed to pull you into the right emotional state to do this, which is really hard and takes that kind of energy. Find that level without losing the focus and the attention, snap in, snap out. That's the balance. And those are things, again, when you talk about specifically about penalties, there's been an attention to that, but I think sometimes, like the pre-snap penalties, I think right now defensively too, like we need 11 guys lined up with the call in the proper alignment. And I don't know that as a spectator you can always see those things, but certainly when they become explosive plays, you see them. Those are things we control. Those are detailed elements, disciplined elements. They may not be pre-snap penalties. We may not be jumping off sides, but an offsides penalty is 5 yards. Not having a half player is 30 yards. So again, for us, or the same goes offensively. I mean, a false start is 5 yards. If we misidentify a blitzer and we get a sack, that's 12 yards. It all pulls from the same well, if that makes sense to you, and it's all around this respect for what the game requires of us and what the game honors in the way we play it. And we got to keep pushing this team towards that more perfect game, because that's ultimately how we're going to find success. We've challenged them this way and they've responded. The game is cleaned up. I think there's more room for us to grow in this area too, not just when we talk about penalties.
Last thing, Coach, Mike New brings in a prolific passing attack with Ball State on Saturday. Really good tight end, a consistent quarterback, and Coach New obviously has a connection with the Nashville Cats. Go back to 1998 here in Nashville, so some familiarity there. But what's going to be the challenge here coming up Saturday night against the team that can move the football and comes out of a good conference?
Well, I've competed against Mike in the past, and he's made my life miserable, so I know he's going to have this team ready to play. He's a really, really good head coach and an alum, too, of Ball State. So, I've got a similar connection to him with respect to the personal nature of our jobs. But this guy's a incredible offensive mind that has a great design. He's got this team really clicking on all cylinders. If you look at time of possession, they're really strong in that measure, top 15, I believe. I think they're 18th in the country in points per red zone possession. So they're efficient as they get the ball tight. You don't see them penalized a lot, so that they play a clean game. And he's got a unique ability of finding the space in his design and channeling the ball to his tight end, who's a really good player. So they're going to have a good system, a good strategy for us. We need to understand what that system and strategy is, but really our focus needs to be on how we execute on our end and the things that we do to defend them, to make the yards hard fought, and again, to build the stops and get the ball back to our offense. In this game, winning for us is having our offense on the field and our defense on the sideline. So we don't want to linger in possessions. We were willing to play that way a little bit with Kentucky, but I'd love to see our group, try to deliver stops earlier in series and get the offense back out on the field. If we don't do that, you run the risk of a game control team on the other side, really putting pressure on you in what will be a tightly contested game. And so then the results just come down to the margins that we need to capture to win.
Vanderbilt Ball State coming up Saturday at 6 o'clock. That's Vanderbilt coach Clark Lea. Coach, thanks again.
Hey, great to be with you.